Of the first edition of Enterprise Innovation Challenge, the Digital Supply Chain Imperative. Creating a digital environment to manage the entire supply chain is absolutely critical for companies to build resilience. My name is Charulata Bansal, publisher of Celerity Supply Chain Tribe, and I am your host for this afternoon. The Center of Excellence team created the Enterprise Innovation Challenge as a platform to focus on the innovative approaches, trends, and technologies that is shaping the future of digital innovation. Through this platform, COE aspires to stimulate a co-creation ecosystem that will spark innovation for enterprises transformation in the digital age and bring together the brightest minds from the industry, academia, startups, and government to create an innovative system for solving relevant challenges facing enterprises. In this 2-month journey, there has been a resoundingly positive response from all ecosystem entities. So for all of you logged into our program, this is going to be one exciting afternoon where senior supply chain leaders share their experiences and announce the winners of the Maiden Enterprise Innovation Challenge. To kickstart this event, I'd like to invite Mr. Sanjeev Malhotra, CEO, NASSCOM Center of Excellence, IoT and AI, to give the opening remarks and the context setting. Over to you, Sanjeev ji.
All right, thank you. And a very warm welcome to all the speakers, our distinguished guests, and on the audiences who have joined us from all over the country. We started this journey 2 months ago on a very specialized topic and very important topic of the supply chain, which affects industries, ranging from manufacturing to retail and pretty much every industry in between. And what we found is, especially for the India, in the India settings, the context of our logistic costs that are pretty much on the higher side when it comes to the global index. I think this topic is of very high relevance, and the support we have from the industry, from the participating startups and innovators, and some of the technology companies has been overwhelming and very, very encouraging. I'll also like to thank all the partners who have been involved and actually working in making this a success, from MITI, the MSH, the state government, the industry leaders, and NASSCOM COE team also has been working tirelessly to make this a success. And also we have been getting support from our international partners, and we have been working with many different countries and their representatives in India, and some of the MNCs that represent them as well in Bangalore and other parts of India. One particular instance of our interaction and support has been from the German consulate. They have been working very closely with us, along with some of the German MNCs that are present in India. And so happy to have Mr. Ajim Burkat, who is the Consul General in Bangalore, who's visited our center a couple of weeks ago and also been supportive of a lot of our activities. He and his predecessor have been great support. And with that, we'd like to have Mr. Ajim Burkat share a few words with us and have his address next.
Thank you first for the invitation to be the keynote speaker of this auspicious event. Germany and India are closely linked in the field of innovation and high-tech. In addition, I believe there's room for much more business, for much more science, and for much more political cooperation. So let us take these opportunities and develop new strategies, new digital solutions, and bring thus our bilateral relations in all fields to new heights. Being the German consul in Bangalore since 1 year now, and a lawyer from profession, I have had a steep learning curve in the digital world. For me, this world is fascinating. so multifaceted and future-oriented. Sometimes when I visit companies in that field, I feel like a little boy in a toy shop with big eyes and open mouths because of all these absolute stunning developments. Yesterday, for example, I had been with Siemens Healthineers, and they showed me so many solutions which were, I believe, absolutely incredible. So, first of all, I want to give you my sincere congratulations to all of you who are involved in this. You made out of Bangalore one of the most and best leading digital innovation hubs on this planet. And I want to assure you, Germany is here to stay. You know, we had elections, and I think I don't tell you anything new that the new upcoming German government will continue to foster our relations. And that, again, I want to assure you. So today, we are concentrating on the idea and reality of the so-called digital supply chain. When I was preparing this keynote, it became clear to me that supply chain is one of the most discussed and hot topics in international trade and industry production. Moreover, it became clear to me that digital supply chain becomes more and more a reality by either supporting or sometimes even replacing classic supply chains. Why these supply chains are so important? Because we believe in free trade and the free flow of goods and services. Only by this, all of our countries can benefit and produce wealth and jobs for our citizens. However, supply chains seem to be very fragile. We have not realized this before because they were working so smoothly. But Corona and one traffic jam in the Suez Canal have caused enormous disruption that we feel until today worldwide in all fields of our economies. Microchips are missing in many factories. Car factories have to shut down for months. The building industry can't deliver in time as materials are not coming quick enough. And if it's coming, not in quantities needed. The energy prices are soaring worldwide as demand is high and supply doesn't come in time. And I could continue with many more examples. Estimation of the Port Authority in Hamburg are not expecting a return to the old days before mid-2022. And unfortunately, others are even more pessimistic. Therefore, I firmly believe that digital supply chains come right in time to reduce the impact of these ongoing difficulties. Your Open Innovation Initiative aimed to solve these pressing challenges faced day by day by the industry comes indeed more than time. And you have received 111 applications from the innovators for the 3 nominated challenges. This is absolutely great, and I'm really looking forward to learn more in detail about it. Germany supports comparable innovation processes by a high number of initiatives on all levels: central government, federal states, universities, ministries, and that's all hand in hand with the industry. But we go beyond our borders, be it within the European Union or even worldwide with countries like India. My government, for example, together with the German Startups Association and supported by the German Federal Ministry of Economic Affairs and Energy, initiated the German-Indian Startup Exchange Program, which is also called GINSEP. It is a non-monetary platform to strengthen and foster exchange between India and Germany in the startup scene and support Indian and German startups in their efforts to gain access to the respective other market. The project supports German and Indian startups by offering networking opportunities. They do it through events, workshops, pitching formats, and study trips. They provide information and hands-on assistance in gaining access to the other markets. And they do that by leveraging a large network of partners consisting of incubators, investors, corporates, support organizations, etc., from both our countries. If you need more information on GINSEP, please ask NASCOM or us. We can guide you whom to contact. The Bangalore Indo-German Startup Network, in short, BIGSAN, is initiated by my Consulate General of Germany in Bangalore and the Indo-German Chamber of Commerce, and it has an aim to facilitate collaboration among the German corporates and Bangalore-based startups. Now, if you look at the names of the founding members, they read like a who's who in German industry. Anai Sites, SAP, Siemens, Airbus, Axelor, Bosch, and as an Indian partner, NASCOM. Further members are, among other, Mercedes, Infineon, Merck, TÜV Rheinland, Lufthansa Technik, Continental, and organizations like the VDMA and Investor Bavaria, and many, many more. You can see by this alone that Germany and German companies in India invest heavily into the startup ecosystem here in Bangalore and its collaboration with the respected German counterparts. But I want to come back to the digital supply chain, which, as I read in short, is called DSC. The digitalization of supply chain is a crucial and strategic topic for professional communities at large, and in particular for the players in logistics and supply chain management. And also the academic world, well represented here in Bangalore, has to play its role. In Germany, we already have universities where you can have a master's degree in digital supply chain management. I give you one example. The University of Münster, the Fachhochschule, for example, started for the semester 2021-2022 with a part-time study program. So you can continue to work in your office, in your company, and at the same time, follow the courses and make your exam. It is a very modern didactic concept with a mixture of classroom and online teaching. It is optimally geared to the requirements of these working students. Several technological, organizational, and strategic challenges remain to overcome to foster the success of the DSC implementation. It is essential to develop a deep understanding on the adoption of new and still to be developed technologies and their impact on the supply chain. It is also important to explore the new directions of the DSC, the configurations of DSC, the role of customer, consumer, and supplier integration, the contribution of new skills and project management approaches, and the construction of an integrated measuring instruments for DSC performance. So much to look at. This is on one side an academic challenge, but brings at the same time many opportunities for new products and solutions. The startup ecosystem has its platform to develop this. So where is all of that relevant? From my point of view, the sky is the limit. As the innovation expands from healthcare over manufacturing in all fields, retail, and up to agriculture, for example, I do not see where this will not play a role. So I would like to conclude. I see in this topic a crucial element for our interconnected economies, if they want to continue to work together successfully. Today's event, very timely, gives you all the opportunities to take a deep dive into this fascinating cosmos and intertwine it with IoT, ML, and AI to support worldwide supply chains with digital supply chain solutions. So let me thank you again for inviting me. Thank you to all the participants, and I wish you a successful and enriching experience. Have a good day.
Thank you to the Consul General for his participation, not in this event, but even outside this, and having a regular interaction with our people and the staff. So next, actually, we have a launch of the report. But before that, Preetham, I may have you here for just 2 minutes for the industry views on this challenge, and then we quickly go to the launch of report with our honorable guest, Dr. Ajay Kumar.
Sure. So, hi, I'm Preetham. I'm the Global Director at Innovation at Ajim Burkat. Ajim Burkat is the world's largest beverages company, and we are really I would say delighted to be working with the team here on the supply chain digitization space. I think for us, being a global company, supply chain is one of the biggest challenges that we foresee. We primarily, for example, our products ship across the globe. We have products which are manufactured in Mexico, sold in India, and at the same time we have products in small breweries spread all across the globe, which follow standard processes, because our brands need to follow a certain set standard of manufacturing, certain set standard of production. So supply chain digitization has been one of our key initiatives. In fact, the whole usage of IoT, the usage of real-time analytics to drive better production has helped us create a more resilient supply chain, as well as reduce wastage and add to the overall goal of creating a carbon neutral supply chain, which we wish to have by 2025. One of the key initiatives for us, because as we are a beverages company, water is our primary ingredient, and we are always on the lookout for partners, for solutions through which we can simplify that and reduce the water usage, and at the same time also monitor the wastage and monitor the overall consumption of water. So, and digitization has been a key factor kind of for us, because we consider, many people consider water is free, but for us, I think the amount of impact it has, especially around the local community, creates a significant importance for us to ensure that there is a minimum wastage while we use it. So for digitization is a key pillar for us to ensure that we reduce the wastage, as well as simplify our global supply chain. Our we recently invested in electric fleet. We actually signed a deal with Nikola Trucks for over close to 500 trucks to also completely not only track the movement of our trucks, because that globally can help reduce carbon emission, as well as help us better manage our truck movement and logistics, and at the same time bring efficiencies on the way we operate. So and provide us the data to drive it forward. So three key things. Really looking forward to engage with the team, with NASSCOM and the rest of the community in driving supply chain digitization. We are always on the lookout for partners, for players who can provide us some insights. We feel we have kind of done quite a bit in terms of digitizing our ways of working, reducing our water consumption, and as well as driving sustainability by the usage of digitization across our supply chain. But we'll always open for views, opinions, and would love to kind of hear from members and experts on this.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Preetham. And please invite us for your next beverage party. I mean, our distinguished guests from Delhi, I'd like to invite them here as well for your new launches of the new products. We'll be happy to be part of it. So thank you so much to be part of this innovation challenge. And
thank you.
Look forward to be helping and being part of this. So the effort that is going on in the Center of Excellence, the people behind it, the initiative and some. Just one thing, Dr. Garg, I'd like to tell you what Consul General told us. But he was really impressed with some of the digital initiatives happening in India. I mean, he said if Germany has to do it, it will take us 5 more years to get to that point. That was his exact words. I'm not making it up. When he visited us last week, that's what he said. And the ministry that is responsible for making that happen and build this image for India, not by doing the great work. I think we are so fortunate to have Dr. Ajay Garg present with us. He's the person, driving some of the key initiatives in the ministry from the startup world, from the innovation side, and been coordinating and front-ending so many things and helping us along the way. So with Dr. Garg, it was good to have you at the time when we launched this, and now we've come to a point where we are concluding this along with our industry partners. And the team has done a good job of compiling a lot of inputs from our industry partners and put a lot of wisdom from them into a report along with the winners. So with your permission, we'd like to launch that report at this point.
Please go ahead, Sanjeev. Congratulations for this wonderful report.
Thank you so much. All right. Thank you. And Dr. Ajay, now I would like you to share a few words with the audience here. And thanks to the team, from MSH who have helped us in getting all the startups apply there and get them screened and to the point where we have come to do the actual pilots with these companies that we have put together with us. So
thank you, Sanjeev, and thank you, NASSCOM. And first of all, let me thank the government of Germany and the German startup ecosystem and the various other for participating in this very, very important India-German initiative. Germany has always been an important technology partner to us, and now is evolving into an important strategic partner, and where supply chain becomes very important, and it's very important event that is happening today. Let me also congratulate the various winners in the supply chain and tell you that the NASSCOM COE is the best place where you can actually get an accelerated growth to your enterprises. Having said this, let me again congratulate on this report. This report will go a long way in educating the large number of deep tech startups involved in various aspects of supply chain that are there in actually fine-tuning their product and fine-tuning their business strategy, which is more important. Because in the many of these supply chain players are in the SaaS space, and there are challenges with regard to expanding their market in India, whether it's within the SME sector or whether it is within the large corporate. That is one problem that we need to actually plug. Educating people on the importance of digital for their own growth, and actually having confidence in these products with respect to the data ownership, the data security, and various aspects of business that they are wary of. Having said that, I like to take what the honorable counselor German counselor said, that the supply chain, and that too digitalization of the supply chain, has become imperative and has become central to the re-emergence and reconsolidation of the economy globally. We all saw that during the pandemic, it was only the Indian IT/ITES industry which remain undisrupted despite of the severest of lockdowns in this country. And they actually emerge as trusted supply chain partners to the global corporates and large companies who are their clients. And having this experience and bringing this confidence to the global partners on supply chain, I'm sure that Indian supply chain startups will find a very, very important benchmark and very important business pitch, seeing the large successful corporates who were at startups during the early 80s or the 90s. The supply chain has become not only important for the sake that it is important that businesses remain interconnected, businesses remain efficient. It is also important for the sake that if there is any disruption because of challenges, whether they are geopolitical, whether they are related to a pandemic type of situation which might emerge in future. I'm not saying it should happen, but there always a possibility, or whether it is related to creating a cluster which is virtual in sense, because now you are not looking at physical clusters, which was traditionally the business models of the businesses. People are now moving to virtual clusters, which are important. India is actually, under the national policy on software products, is thinking of such virtual clusters to be developed around specific software product sectors. And this will be going a long way to see that how these solutions can benefit these virtual clusters. Supply chain at the same time is also important for the sake that manufacturing is a key challenge that countries except one in our East faces, promoting manufacturing, remaining resilient and independent of global dependence is what is required in the future. So manufacturing, impetus to manufacturing will be the future of many of the government policies. The government of India has already come with an array of PLI linked schemes, and we have seen a large emergence of manufacturing sector. The productivity, the reduction in logistic cost, and efficiency in manufacturing, which is key because they are sitting on low profit margins. Supply chain and an efficient supply chain is key to such growth. And such small enterprises and startups which are actually contributing are not only contributing in the economic ecosystem, but they are also contributing in the nation building. And that is also important to understand. A very, very important initiative from NASSCOM. You have chosen the right partners in this journey, because we have seen that the technology emergence in the automobile sector happened from Germany, and India emerged as the manufacturing hub. And so such partnerships need to be replicated more, where technology prowess of Germany and our prowess in the digital space can bring a lot of growth in India-Germany partnership, contributing to global economy. Thank you, Sanjeev. Thank you, NASSCOM, for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you, Dr. Ajay. We're grateful to you and your colleagues in MITI for having supported us in this journey. It's taken us a while to get to this point, and where we want to now raise the game and bring more enterprises and more areas also, which are important for our manufacturing and other allied sectors, which will definitely add to the competitiveness of this sector that we are trying to become globally significant in this sector. So thanks. And also some of the newer enterprises challenge will be announced very soon, and we'll definitely involve you in that as well. And also the point on the Germany side that you made, I think they have definitely, their engineering is something praiseworthy and world-renowned, and look forward to working with the German team and the German Consul General and his team here in Bangalore more and more in the coming days. So thank you, Dr. Garg, and with that we'll move on to the next part of the event, and over to you, Charulata.
Thank you, Dr. Ajay, for emphasizing on the importance of digitalization in the supply chain and launching the supply chain program report. As you rightly said, digitalization has become central to the re-emergence of the economy globally, and it plays a crucial role when we've realized that any kind of disruption which can happen now, digitalization is which keeps everybody interconnected. Even what you spoke about manufacturing is what everyone in India is looking forward to, is to ensure that the Make in India program is successful. And while manufacturing gears up to that, obviously an efficient supply chain is also key to such growth. We would also like to recognize the Indian IT fraternity, who played a pivotal role on the global stage during the pandemic. So moving on, we would now like to invite Takayuki Kihara-san, Deputy Head of NLI NEC Corporation, for a special address on the future of logistics. Previously, he was associated with NEC Japan as a head of Digital Identity Department, spearheading new blockchain-based initiatives for global markets at headquarters. Let us hear his unique perspective from both a global and local perspective.
Thank you. Thanks for giving me such a great opportunity. And this is Takayuki Kihara from NEC Laboratories, India. And today, my presentation is about the future of the logistics. So this is an overview of the Indian government goals and the current issues related to the international logistics in India. So I believe you are already aware, but let me go through quickly. So the three major issues are cost, infrastructure utilization, and delivery time. So in terms of the cost, so it is said that the India's logistics costs are about 40% higher than the developed countries. And regarding the infrastructure utilization, so only 60% of the capacity are utilized in 2018. And in terms of the delivery time, so for example, it takes 6 to 14 days from Delhi to nearby port. So this is a long time, about a double compared to other countries. And the arrival time is very uncertain. So in order to solve these issues, the government has set a 5-year target to improve the ranking of LPI to 25th to 30th, and to reduce the cost by 5% of the GDP. So what is the key to solve these issues? So it is unpredictability. So as I mentioned earlier, so the delivery time is quite uncertain. So from 6 to 14 days, for example. So that uncertainty of the arrival time of the containers and goods, so that brings cost and inefficient use of infrastructure for all of the stakeholders, like terminals, CFS and ICD, and truck and rail and warehouses. So all the stakeholders. So for example, so truck and rail and marine companies, so their on time in full rate would be quite low due to the unpredictability. And terminals and container yard and CFS and warehouses, so their resource management and capacity management, it's become quite difficult to manage due to the unpredictability. And also the importers, so they will need to hold excess inventory. So all of these issues related to the cost and utilization of infrastructures comes from the unpredictability. So how to solve that issue of the unpredictability? So in case of the importers, so if they can foresee arrival time with some accuracy, they can control their inventory more efficiently, of course, and can optimize their resource and capacity management, capacity utilization at their warehouse. But to realize that, the key features are visibility and information sharing. So it is necessary to visualize the real-time movement of containers, goods, and admin procedures, and to share these informations among the stakeholders on entire logistics process. So if we can achieve that. So CFS and ICD and all the other stakeholders can make a good use of these informations for their resource management, for their efficient resource management and capacity management. So what do we have to achieve as a logistics industry in India is, so entire logistics visibility and information sharing for total optimization, so not a sub-optimization. So in order to achieve this, so we believe that restructuring of the supply chain is necessary, and which is the concept of the logistics supply web. So it is a platform that allows all the stakeholders to be connected on a single platform to optimize the overall flow of goods and information, rather than the fixed process of information and goods distribution as it is. And by ensuring the real-time visibility and achieving predicted arrival time, so we can realize total optimization and automation. So with the evolution of the technologies, such as IoT, AI, blockchain, so we are now at a stage where this concept can be realized. And we believe that this concept can be applied to not only in India, but also to the global. So what will be changes with the logistics supply web? So your relationships with your partners will be dynamic, not static. And all the systems are connected at the global level. And services will be aggregated and delivered by one-stop platform. And data access will be more open with balancing privacy and business values, rather than hard limitation as it is. So keeping that changes in mind, so we all together need to co-create the new solution. But it is not so easy to implement this concept into the market. The important activities are global ecosystem creation and business acceptance and technologies, which drives these two. So in India, I believe we have the capability to realize that concept into the market because so we have the government, so already initiated the platform building and lots of the talented engineers and tech startups here in India. And also some initiatives like NASCOM, so who drive the collaboration among the tech players, industries, and government. So now the important thing is that all stakeholders to go to the one direction, so which is the logistics supply web. So we, NEC Laboratories India, is one of the tech entities who take an open innovation approach to create a new solution. So we are very open to collaborate with startups and the industries for co-creation and new solution realization. So towards the logistics supply web. So please watch the video now. So one of the solutions, so which can be a part of logistics supply web. So the solution is the AI-based gate automation solution. So which offers the value of improvement of the gate throughput and cost reduction. And also it can be a bridge between the stakeholders. So please watch the video now. Maybe you cannot hear. 聞こえてるかな?
Noticed, the damage category and location are shared with the user and the container is sent for further inspection or repair. The automated container gate operation solution
We can hear it.
Sorry.
automates these containers check processes and ensures faster movement. Here's how it works. First, OCR scans and validates the container ID and vehicle license plate with pre-arrival list. Then it performs container inspections, that is, checks for seal, hazard signs and any external damage on the container. Post-inspection, it authorizes vehicle entry or exit by regulating movement of the boom barrier. Entire transaction is recorded and reported to relevant stakeholders. If any damage
Yeah, sorry, due to the time limitation, I stopped the video, but yeah. But if you are interested in a collaboration with us to realize that solution and to realize the logistics supply web, please get in touch with me. Yeah, thanks for listening. Thank you.
Thank you, Kiara-san, for a thought-provoking address and sharing your vision on the future of logistics around the key areas of cost, infrastructure, and delivery time. Governments, tech providers, and all stakeholders in the supply chain should come together for the co-creation of a logistics supply web to realize its full potential, as you said. Going forward, supply chains around the globe across industries are filled with geopolitical complexity, regulatory challenges, and operational risks. The impact of COVID-19 only exacerbates this wide range of challenges as globalized the logistics networks are impacted, customer demand becomes more volatile, and supplier and inventory status are disrupted, requiring a very dynamic response. While supply chain leaders have access to many technologies, they lack the visibility they need to optimize network performance, take a proactive approach to managing events, and build an agile network that responds to changing requirements. Bringing together a power-packed panel of leaders from supply chain industries to discuss supply chain control tower from different perspectives. We are glad to have with us today Dr. Anil Chinnabhandar, Senior Vice President for Retail Planning and Supply Chain at Landmark Group India. Mr. Aniket Raj Agarwal, President, Supply Chain Management, Trident Group India. Mr. Vaibhav Agarwal, National Manager, Logistics and Customer Service at Britannia Industries Limited. Mr. Shobhit Jain, Vice President, Supply Chain Digital Transformation and Material Planning, Jubilant Foodworks Limited. Mr. Shashikaran, VP Lead, Supply Chain and Manufacturing Practices, Tridents. Mr. Kunal Wagmare, Practice Director, Supply Chain Planning at Bristlecone, a Mahindra Group company. And for moderating this session, we have Mr. Arvind Maheshwaran, Vice President, Supply Chain and Procurement Analytics at Accenture. Over to you, Arvind.
Thank you so much, Charulata, and thanks for the introduction and the nice words. Good afternoon, everyone. Happy to be part of this discussion amongst this great panel of eminent industry practitioners. And just by way of introduction, my name is Arvind Maheshwaran. I've been part of supply chain as a domain for more than 20 years of my career, working across a lot of industries as well as service providers. Currently, I am with Accenture, part of the supply chain and operations practice. I strive to drive digital transformation of our clients in supply chain using advanced technologies, AI, machine learning, and today we're discussing a very important, very pertinent topic. And I think we heard a glimpse of what we're going to be talking about in our previous presenter when he spoke about global logistics challenges, and we pretty much going to touch upon some of those topics today, as well as we speak about one important topic, which is supply chain control towers, right? And this is a topic that is becoming very, very relevant today across the globe. More than ever, companies today, considering the fact that you're seeing so many global pandemic challenges driven by COVID. We all know what happened during the recent Suez Canal crisis, pretty much stopping transportation networks in that part of the globe. We know of global material shortages in semiconductor chips across key core raw materials like coal. We know about all sorts of port disruptions that are happening across various ports in the globe. All this is essentially leading to companies in really believing and now, recognizing the need for enhancing their supply chain visibility and really improving their resilience to manage these disruptions on a day-to-day basis. This is not a once in a quarter kind of an episode. You see this happening on a daily basis these days, right? And in order to seamlessly make that happen and orchestrate that process, companies are deploying what we now know as supply chain control towers, right? Picture this. In a recent survey that we did, 75% of supply chain executives across the globe want to invest in control tower capabilities in some form or the other. More than 50% feel that advanced AI, ML, machine learning capabilities, driving predictive analytics and insights is something that's a key skill and capability that is missing in their organizations, which they want to invest in. So it's definitely the need of the hour, but it's just not about technologies. It's also about people, right? It's also investing in the right organizational talent, skill sets to drive this new ways of working. And to discuss all of this, I will bring in all our esteemed panelists here to address some of these aspects of supply chain control tower. We basically structured the discussion in four themes broadly. One is around really what is the value that we're deriving from control tower. Second is around what is the organizational structuring or change management that is needed to make this happen. Third is around what is a classical or typical or probably an idealistic technology architecture that is needed to make this happen. And fourth is all about data. What kind of data governance or data management practices are needed to kind of run this control tower, right? So with that as a background, let me bring in the panelists as I ask some of these pertinent questions. And the first question would be around striving for value for your supply chains through control tower, right? And the immediate question, the most important question that we need to ask is, what is it that you would want to visualize as a North Star vision from your control towers, and what kind of outcomes that you want to drive through it? And let me just bring in some of our panelists. Vaibhav, you bring in a lot of experience from your Britannia experience as well as from your earlier days in the industry. What is your aspect of perspectives on this, what we call as a vision for control tower?
Right. Thanks, Arvind, for setting up the entire context in a very beautiful way. I guess you're absolutely right. When we're talking about control tower, so first we need to define what do we mean by a control tower. So what are our expectations from the control tower? In most of my experience, most of people say that control tower is all about visibility. And if you have a good visibility, I guess your control tower is successful. Now, I kind of not 100% agree with it. In my opinion, control tower starts with visibility, but it is meant for a lot of other things. The way we visualize control tower in Britannia is that control tower should autonomously work and guide you as a professional to make some very powerful business decisions. And the way we look at control tower in Britannia is that it cannot be, visibility is just a starting point. After visibility, what next we're looking at is exception handling. How do you handle exceptions through that which are coming from the visibility? Third is with a lot of data that is get generated, how do you utilize that data and analyze that data and make some operational and tactical level business decisions. And the final stage where we see control tower moving towards is after we have done all this successfully, and we are in the process of the step number 3 right now. But our vision is to move to a more focused point where control tower is not only guiding us in operational decisions, but a lot of strategic level decisions are more informative in nature and are more data driven. And all this control tower will be the backbone and kind of help us in taking those decisions very, very quickly and very, very aptly. For example, where to put our warehouse, where to put our next factory. Does it make more sense to have a distributor manufacturing strategy or a concentrated manufacturing strategy? And all these kind of decisions will be taken by the control tower. Logistics is not the only point, but a lot of tax related benefits that you get and all that will be part of this control tower, and sure. That's what we are looking. So right now, so let me give you an example of where we are in Britannia as of now. So we started with visibility in our road transportation system, where we were delivering goods from factory to our depots and from depots to our distributors, right? And when the visibility came, we saw there are a lot of circular movements that were happening within our system, where the goods were moving from point A to point B and then from point B to point A back. Within the FG system itself, we saw a lot of synergies in the movement. So we actually had some dedicated vehicles and those started doing reverse movements. Then we analyzed the procurement movements. There were a lot of raw materials that we purchased. We also included that in our entire model. And we saw that the synergies were quite high, surprisingly very, very high than what we thought it was. It was a eye opener for us. And then what we started is we started putting more and more circular movements in place and saving a lot of data. Also, it gave us an idea, why can't we have, in the same premises, why can't we have a raw material storage and the FG storage? And synergies were found out in storage levels. Then a lot of CPs, contract manufacturing parties, and our own factory had some synergies in it. So the manufacturing also came in and under the control tower. So this is the state where we are. And we want to move forward from here in making a lot of strategic decisions using control tower on how the growths will happen, where do you want to manufacture what, and all that is sure. What we're looking at.
No, that's very well put. I guess just a important point that you raised. You start with visibility, but you don't really end with visibility in a control. Right. And Shashi, you deploy these solutions for your clients as part of your services. And what is your observation? What do really companies try to achieve through control towers?
Sure. Thanks, Arvind. Thanks, NASSCOM, for this opportunity. They say in consulting, never disagree with a potential client. So I will not say anything that Vaibhav talked about, but I probably have a slightly different perspective. Maybe we will converge, Vaibhav, when I complete the narrative. My perspective is this, that a lot has been ascribed to control tower in general in the industry, that control tower is not. And therefore, sometimes there is such an exaggerated expectation from control tower that it's usually often dismissed as a mere BI, right? And the twains never meet. So I will want to take a slightly different perspective. Here is what I'm going to say. There are the planning and optimization modules, the familiar world of SAP's, Oracle's, Blue Yonder's, O9, OMP, and a lot of other emerging beautiful technologies out there. Now, these fall in the area of planning and optimization. Right? Be it warehousing, transportation, sales and operations planning, order management, demand forecasting, yada, yada, right? Because supply chain is the biggest corporate function out there. So there are hundreds of sub-functions within supply chain. So this is the P&O part of the supply chain. Supply chain control tower is not this, but it heavily draws from this. And that's where I'll now get into what a control tower is in my mind, right? There are two layers in control tower. One is a connected visibility layer. When the moment I say connected visibility, it has again two subdivisions. One is visibility as we know BI, business intelligence, right? Tell me what's happening in my supply chain yesterday. Tell me what happened in the morning. Tell me what happened a year before, compare it. Beautiful descriptive analytics, absolutely important for supply chains to function very well. I will not undermine the importance of BI one bit. I think about 50% of the world's Fortune 5000 firms have started the journey of good BI. Only 5% have completed that journey. That's my understanding of how BI stands today. So one is connected visibility, but the second aspect of connected visibility is then can I also visualize the future, which means can I say supply chain is going to fail tomorrow because I'm going to have a labor problem in 3 of my warehouses in the Mumbai region? In order for the control tower to do it, it needs to draw upon from the P&O modules because the P&O modules are supplying demand and other numbers. This journey of connected visibility on descriptive, predictive, this journey is a very, very emphatic journey. And if we do this journey, this roughly takes anywhere between 12 to 18 months to complete this journey, will give tremendous rewards. And I'll take 30 more seconds and I'll complete my narrative. The second layer of control tower, and I don't think there is a single organization in the world which has finished this journey. It's just a concept that is gaining ground, is the concept of a control tower also being an orchestrating layer, right? Now, what does it mean? It's a beautiful jargonic word, orchestration, but what does it really mean? There are these P&O modules that I spoke about, transportation or warehousing. They are like these big, large ropes that pull the ship in various directions. The best in case inventory solution may not be the best in case transportation solution for the company, right? You might absolutely have a fantastic inventory situation, but that leads to a lot of your express cargo and surface cargo and all that. The transportation costs may increase. But what should you do when there are these different things pulling you in different directions? Now, that is the job of a control tower, to take all these recommendations and say, hey, you know what? I'm going to do 80% of what the inventory solution said, 35% of what the transportation solution said, etc., etc. And then I'm going to arrive at the best possible cost situation and the OTIF situation for my customers because I know the best, because I am the orchestration layer. As I said, easier said than done, because this assumes that the P&O modules are functioning very well. And we have all our own experiences with those modules. So I'll stop there.
Oh, that's a very, very good way of putting it. I mean, as I hear from people, there are different perspectives, different objectives, different vision. But at the end of the day, if you're not driving an outcome for your business, it doesn't work. So with an outcome for the business in mind, everything else should follow. The connotations might be different for different industries, but the vision has to be to drive that outcome, right? I'll also have a couple more perspectives on this one, and I think there's also a logical next question to it. But before that, let me also hear from Aniket. Aniket, you are in a retail business. You supply to the biggest retailers in the country, in the world, and I'm sure you're facing these challenges on a day-to-day basis. What is your vision of control tower for your organization, or what is it that you're planning to deploy?
Yeah, Arvind, thanks for, first of all, inviting me. So as I heard, visibility definitely is going to play a critical role. But when I say visibility, it is more from the perspective of total cost of supply chain. Because as we say, we see what we want to see rather than what we should see. So that is where control tower can actually bring out the things which are always hidden in the maybe the sale price or the, landed cost in terms of Incoterms and things like that. For example, if you are selling on FOB basis, so maybe the kind of, freight scenarios we have. So Walmart, JC Penney, Target, they might be absorbing maybe 20-30% of the cost, which will be going to be the cost to supplier in a long-term scenario, right? So that is where control tower can bring out the overall visibility of the total cost of the supply chain, not just the supplier or the customer or the trader, but the overall in the overall perspective supply chain. Further, I would say what we call today control tower will be the action tower, or maybe the action player in future, because a control tower is not just giving us the intelligence, but actually taking some, within seconds, they are taking some crucial decision on the part of our organization, which are getting delayed a lot. And as you rightly said, that today things are happening on a daily basis or hourly basis. So that is where control tower will actually add value without depending upon people. Right calls, in terms of cost, as well as visibility in terms of, what need to be pushed, what need to be pulled, what need to be, outsourced, and things like that. So that is where, the flexibility and the agility of the supply chain will come into the future, because variation is something I personally feel it's not, supply chain baby. It is more about predicting that visibility, variability, and achieving 99% or 100% accuracy in that variability prediction and actioning point, whatever you do to achieve that variability. Because we, as a supply chain guy, we always try to, normalize the variability, which is rather not in our control. So it's more about, right prediction and accurate prediction. And that is where control tower can play a crucial role in long run.
Sure. No, that's a good perspective. Variability is constant. It's about how you manage the variability using a control tower framework or a control tower premise is what will probably help you drive that successful business, right? Now, the logical next question for me is, okay, we all know what is control tower. It's a great vision, and we can achieve a lot of things, but where do we start? And that's the question that a lot of organizations are still wondering. Where do I start? Is it going to be a use case based approach wherein I start with a function with a specific business unit, drive success through that, and then do a full scale implementation, or should I just look for a big bang end-to-end approach and figure out as we do that big bang implementation? Now, that's a very difficult balance to achieve. So I'll take a service provider perspective as well as an adopting organization perspective. Let's first go to the service provider. So Sashi, maybe you probably started talking about that during your initial question, but maybe you can just continue from there and talk about the typical roadmap, right?
Yeah. Okay. So anything in supply chain, right? First of all, I don't know what a big bang supply chain looks like, simply because supply chain is the biggest integrating function of them all. It touches merchandising, pricing, distribution, transportation, warehousing, order management, reverse logistics, whatnot. So in control tower journey, it is not a mansion that you buy from someone. It's basically a room. It's basically you start building a room by room, and then you make it grand, right? So in what I mean by saying that is, I would definitely say big bang approach is not the best approach. It's a long journey. It has its uncertainties along the way. My feeling is, by and large, and this is not true to every industry, if I talk about retail, CPG, and more B2C kind of a format, start with your customer end of the supply chain. Get your metrics right. Don't boil the ocean with all the data. It's not even possible to boil the data ocean, right? So get your basic data points right. Publish what is the art of possible with that data. Any business user, and I'm sure all the business users in this panel will agree, the moment they look at the data, they will have a sniff test to say whether the data is speaking the language of business or is it speaking an isolated reality, right? That no one is interested about. Get that feedback, prove an ROI. And usually you can prove an ROI in terms of, let's say, reduced damages, reduced cost of final delivery, OTIF improvements, and so on. Get confidence along, then boil more data, right? So I would definitely say do that. In industries which are perhaps in the oil and gas, or heavy duty investment oriented manufacturing, maybe you can start with, from the other end of the supply chain spectrum, you can start with sourcing, because sourcing controls 70% of all costs of those firms. So there is an alternate approach available as well, but start from either ends of the spectrum and do not do big bang and start building room by room is what I would highly recommend. Yeah.
And Mr. Anil, I think I'll bring you in here, and I don't know if you what's your experience with respect to, I mean, you managing a large retail or conglomerate as well. What's your experience of where do we start typically? You're on mute, Anil.
I'm so sorry. Yeah. First of all, thanks to NASCOM again for doing a wonderful job. I guess the team, has done a wonderful job of bringing everybody together and then kind of, present a very workable kind of a solution, in fact, for the entire industry and the professionals. So thanks to the entire team, I guess. Now, just before even asking whether it's a big bang or a, bit by bit or whatever, right? I think which is been explained beautifully by Shashi. In fact, even on the earlier question, actually, I would like to just also answer a little bit on the control tower. What's a control tower, right? Literally, if you ask me, it's being the Bhagwan of supply chain. When I say the Bhagwan of supply chain, it is literally, these days, thanks to the COVID, the boards have understood that it is a supply chain which really needs to be agile, and not only agile, fit, almost 24/7, so that company can not only survive and then start servicing the customers. Because without customers or without consumers, at least from a retail perspective, there's no business. If there is no service, if there is no business, there is no quality, there's no money that we can make. If there's no money, none of us can survive, actually. Very simple, right? So control tower, the purpose is, like also the previous speaker said, it's actually like total cost of, ownership and all that. But supply chain tower, it's literally, imagine the Bangalore airport, and then the way they are trying to, probably control around 800, arrivals and departures, that kind of a thing. Now imagine here, we have multiple lakhs of SKUs, and then several hundreds of millions of actually customers around. And we have hundreds of delivery partners, and then hundreds of actually the primary freight providers. It's literally managing that entire activity, plus the service supplier, plus all sorts of, our own captive, activities and so on. It's a humongous work actually in terms of that. But I think Shashi put it really nicely in terms of how do we really, or what all do we really look at it, right? So that way, visibility, real-time tracking, exception management, and predictive and prescriptive actually kind of a decision support and all that. And then most importantly, autonomous decision making. Can we ever get to that situation? If you get, people like me can actually sleep at least 8 hours a night, which I'm not able to, do for the last 2 years at least, right? So that's what it is. On your particular question of whether it is bit by bit or big bang, because the big bang approach has already gone through the roller shutters actually long time ago in everything pretty much. Shashi has also got a beautiful background or a backdrop to his actually, the screen as well, right? He shows lots of bricks there. That's exactly how it is built, brick by brick, bit by bit. Who can imagine really what's going to happen? Up until 1 o'clock today in Bangalore, everything was actually smooth, right? Now, what do we know? The entire afternoon and tonight, tomorrow, it's gone for a toss, because I can't ply any of my vehicles. I can't keep the warehouse open. I can't keep my stores open because the film actor actually, unfortunately, he died. Actually, very, very unfortunate. But no, Bhagavan also can predict and tell you that. So look at it on Friday afternoon. This is what's going to happen. So prepare for it. There's no way you're going to actually be able to predict that, right? So the entire afternoon and even good part of tomorrow is actually gone for a toss as far as Bangalore, based activities are concerned. So therefore, your plan A, plan B, plan 3 is always very, 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 very important. So as when you do the bit by bit, it is easy for you to remove that brick and put something else, or from change from one small room to another. If you've already built a huge Taj Mahal, you will really struggle, right? That's what it is, I guess. And then so we need to really look at it. Each and every department needs the decision-making support, because ultimately the decisions have to be made by the local teams and the respective teams in conjunction with actually other teams, and then make the right decision to make sure that your service delivery is kept intact, your quality is kept intact. Therefore, you will actually be able to make some money in the whole scheme of things. That's what I had to say, Arvind.
Absolutely, that's a fantastic way of putting it. I think you put it in some, for a layman to really understand what control tower is. You put it absolutely beautifully. We don't need to be a supply chain expert to know what to hear from you and then understand what is control tower. So thank you for that, Anil. Really helpful for the larger audience. Now, I'll also bring in Shobit. Shobit, I guess, sorry, I'm bringing you late into this conversation, but you've been in the industry, you've been part of the supply chain across your experiences. What is your experience and your perspective state? Also from perspective of, and that was a logical next question, is that, we talk about technologies, we talk about vision and purpose, how do we roadmap it? But it's also about people, right? You cannot have decades old ways of working and people's skills to now operate in the current world the way we want to operate a control tower, right? So you need new ways of working, new skills, new organizations. What in your perspectives is how the organizational supply chains are evolving these days to kind of make all these changes happen, basically?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Arvind, and thanks to NASCOM. So, before I answer your this question, let me also add 2 bits to my understanding of supply chain control tower, and I look at very simplistically. Supply chain tower is all about execution, and it's about ensuring that you have a timely, adequate, and comprehensive information to make your supply chain reliable, to make your supply chain agile. And I think business context also matters a lot. Now, if I talk about a QSR industry, the way we operate, our operating model is very different from, a beverage or a FMCG, a typical FMCG supply chain. So what we do is we supply a fresh dough almost let's say once in 2 days. And for us, on time and in full is extremely critical. And why in full very critical for us is simply because if you don't have cheese, your 70% of menu is not available. So the business context will matter for us, for everybody. So and also for us, food safety is also very, very important. The en route visibility of what's happening to your dispatches and all. So and hence we started our journey of control tower with this phase of supply chain. As Shashi also mentioned, start from, typical consumer industry would start from a consumer side, and that's what we did from our supply chain centers to our restaurants. We have a control tower which gives us what's wrong in the supply chain. So anything, for example, any unforeseen delays of our trucks beyond 10 minutes, we get to know this. Or let's say, any particular store is taking more than X minute, 60 minutes, and how do we quickly, get that situation resolved, and so on and so forth. So, and food safety side also, we would obviously not expect driver to open the truck unless it reaches the restaurant. So such type of things are very, very critical in our context, and hence the application of control tower in this leg of supply chain. Now, other bit I want to add is the question that you just asked on the big bang approach and a modular approach, and I do agree with everybody who said big bang just doesn't work, and it's just not about investment. It's also about organizations' capability and bandwidth to absorb such technology investment. For example, for our kind of company, even if I were to say, the funds is not an issue, but I think more important is the people part. And just elaborating a bit on that, a lot of new roles need to be created for that concept to actually work and get tied to the business outcome. So I would say, when anybody says the supply chain tower is about visibility, but visibility for what? That's most important question to answer. So our approach is simple, that so we have created new roles. For example, we have a supply chain transportation controller. We have a control room. We have adequately manned that function. Plus, we are also building an analytics function because the supply chain tower is not just about reacting in terms of reacting about any let's say outliers within the execution, but it is also about gathering what is not happening right on a recurring basis and make more insights from it. So that requires a lot of analytics and insight capability. That is what we are trying to build. So I think it's about creating some new roles, upgrading the capability of the existing people, and especially on the analytics side. That's what we are trying to do.
Yeah,
so
absolutely great points. And in terms of really the new ways of working would need to be looked at from perspective of new capabilities and skill sets that need to be developed. New roles, you're right. I mean, for example, I visualize a role called something like a network planner, in the old ways of working, we don't think somebody looks at the entire network and plans from all the way from the PO to the shipment delivery to the last mile, right? We need to start thinking of some of these new roles where we need to provide that end-to-end visibility and then act very, very decisively on some of those exceptions, right? So thanks for those inputs, Shobhit. Really very valuable inputs. Anybody wants to add to the people aspect, just to emphasize the role that people play in this entire control tower model?
Yeah, Arvind, for example, if you remember the good old days of manufacturing plants, right? You used to have a PPC department or a methods department. And the PPC department always was next to the manufacturing manager or the plant manager, right? That PPC guy was the tower guy, actually, right?
So by the way, Anil, that was my first job. I was a PPC guy in Tata Motors.
There you go. Right? So all of us actually have done that, right? You remember the good old DRPs, the distribution resources planning and all that, right? So it was always that actually. So the people are an integral part of this towering business, because we always, let's admit, we always had the tower, whether it's a transportation tower, warehousing tower, or actually our own information technology tower, information tower, management tower, decision-making ke liye. So we've always had it. Now we are talking about how do we bring all of them to the common platform to collaborate better and have an independent decision-making. Because what was missing in that cellular structure is independent decision-making. Whoever was the senior most, whoever was the most powerful guy, he or she would actually get away with their decision-making. But here, we'll be doing that actually with the help of the technology and the information, actually.
Fantastic. Vaibhav, I think you wanted to add a point. Please go ahead.
Yeah, Arvind. So basically the way I look at it, the entire control tower manning is that obviously there are a lot of new roles that come up when you implement control tower. But what is more important is collaboration between the different functions in a company. And a lot of probably project managers or something initially plays a very, very important role in the entire adoption of the control tower. Post that, when your control tower becomes more mature, then you would need people who have analytical skills, who have data, the guys who can control the data. Now, I think we can either have it inside our organization or we can outsource it. Outsourcing is a very powerful mechanism that got created in the last 10 to 12 years. People are outsourcing most of their functions, capabilities that they do not want to build within their organizations. And when it gets mature, then you can induct it within the organization or keep it also as something which company can decide.
Sure.
So I guess a lot of companies, in fact, a lot of my friends who are in the process of implementing control towers in their companies have this dilemma on how to suddenly recruit so many people who are the right people to recruit and all that. What is the right center of mentality? I guess we should all look at outsourcing as an option. And consulting companies like Accenture or like A.T. Kearney can help in building those capabilities, and
sure.
And then we can have the inside our organization once we are mature enough to handle that.
Right.
May I add a small contentious point? Another way of looking at this, the manning, right? And I will build upon what Vaibhav said. So this time around, I'm not contradicting you, Vaibhav. So you can even consider Tridents as an option next time. Yeah, I'm kidding. Yeah. So what I'm thinking is, I have seen cases where supply chain technology integration has had lots of challenges, and that is because while it's an integrating function, there are some territories within supply chain. Trans versus S&OP, inventory versus order management, customer logistics planning, you have seen it. So the kind of orchestration that is required, right? I mean, you have heard this term, something called servant leadership, right? Someone who doesn't come across as an aggressive bully, but is just a facilitator. That kind of team is required to deploy brick by brick and room by room. Of course, there will be these controlling functions of supply chain that have to be brought into the room. But I think the people who are implementing it, they should be as much as possible non-judgmental, very objective. They are just showing the picture. They are not owning the picture, right? I feel that's a very important thing. which is probably one of the reasons why external parties are brought in, but that may not be always a necessity either. It's good for us if external parties are brought in, but there are companies which have also done it with internal resources as well. I think that's
perfect. Very good. Thanks for that, Sashi. And I let us just move on to the another important theme, which is around technology and data. And Kunal, I'll bring you here. I'm sorry, you are the last to speak in the panel, but you're not the least, right? So let us speak about technology becoming the real enabler for driving an optimal supply chain control tower, right? Because technology is constantly changing, business priorities are constantly changing. If you need to develop a control tower platform and stand it for a long time, you need to create a platform which is agile, flexible, and adapting to all the technology changes and business changes that are happening. So what's your perspectives on how technology should evolve for supporting a control tower?
So first of all, thank you very much, NASSCOM, for this opportunity. Now, the technology choice conversation becomes very interesting because technology, as we know, keeps on giving us variety of choices every day. Now, that is anyway variable, and a lot of opportunity, options, choice exist. But the concept is also evolving every day. So there are two things which are changing. When that is happening, it is a careful evaluation and careful understanding of all the parameters and aspects is very important. So before we get down to certain considerations which are relevant to really look at technology choices, it's also important to understand what is not a control tower. And I think some of those points were picked up earlier. There is, I would say, sometimes overuse, abuse of the terminology. Shashikiran mentioned about BI being deemed as control tower, even fancy dashboards, glossy stuff, everything kind of gets categorized as a control tower, which it is certainly not. Now, with that kind of a background, when we start looking at technology choice, I would definitely try and look at what kind of control tower objective that we are looking at and what kind of control tower maturity I'm expecting to begin with. I generally categorize the whole maturity framework largely into three buckets. One is obviously the starters, end-to-end visibility, which we already talked about. The second one essentially is something that makes an application or a platform a fair control tower, which is ability to respond. So I'll really put that as a second layer. And the third one is ability to sense or being intelligent. Now, if I'm targeting these three layers, again, broadly, there may be many other definitions. My technology choice should be somewhere considering what I'm really trying to achieve and what is my organizational maturity and where really I want to hit. I mean, I am struggling for visibility, but I want intelligence. That's a good recipe for disaster, right? So that's one consideration. Second consideration is, I would also certainly look at the data aspect. I know we have an elaborated point further on that. Data becomes important, not just for the accuracy consideration, but the technology choice or application, which is capable of understanding multi-domain, multidisciplinary, and multi-enterprise data in some or other fashion, which obviously becomes an important element to really make a choice. That's point number two. The third one, I will move on and also talk about the agility or immersiveness of the application. Now, this is very important. Is my control tower application a fluid or is it a block, right? And I'm using these kind of terms and I will try to explain. A fluid is something, if I put that magic fluid in my current landscape, it will go and stick at the right places, right? But a block, right, which now I need like 10, 15, 20 wires to connect, here and there, and somehow then hope that it works. In my view, having dealt with a lot of customer situations, the block right now is not working. Fluid, there are much higher chances of working, and therefore respect for the current landscape, the platform which gives respect to the current landscape and not try to lift and shift, plug and play, all that is again a recipe for disaster. That's my point number three. Beyond that, there are some peripheral considerations which I would put. Sometimes there are specialized control towers which people look at, like transportation control towers. There are specialist applications for that. But having said all of these, I would really consider these top 3 points. And to top all of this, the whole concept really thrives and lives on the concept of interoperability. Therefore, an application which is capable of marrying my control tower pillars. Now, what are control tower pillars? And I'm not going to drag this beyond a point. So last 30 seconds. I would look at few pillars, let's say plan, monitor, sense, and respond, right? Traditionally, we have been looking at all the pillars in an extremely sequential manner. Right? I will plan and then I start monitoring. I'll monitor and then I will do this and that. Now, if some of these pillars are able to operate together and that technology platform is able to provide me, if I sense, then I'm able to immediately trigger an action into other pillars. So again, my last criteria would be an ability to interoperate. Now, if an application which exists today, which is capable of doing all of this, right, I would know the name and it doesn't exist. But now I know my expectations are too much, but it is important to make at least people aware that this is really an ideal platform. And I'm sure this such a platform can be put together, no doubt, with the fantastic technology options we have. But generally, I would look at such a criteria, Arvind and team here, to really make a stride.
Oh, I think thanks for succinctly putting this, Kunal. And I think let's also take a perspective from some of the adopting organizations. So, Anil, in your experience of technology challenges or technology adoption for Control Tower, what are some of your experiences?
Well, I think to continue actually, from Kunal, in fact, I guess I actually was always looking at two capabilities, right? One is analytical capabilities, the other one is operational capabilities. What is that analytical actually leading to? Because you can be God and you can have all the information actually, but then if it is not being put to use, or if the people on the floor are not being able to use it on time, it's a useless thing. For example, let's say, it's we are talking about on time, in full orders and all those things, right? That what is the impact of that into manufacturing, distribution, transportation, last mile, all those things, right? Similarly, if I have some data around supplier, 3PL or carrier, performance and all that, how do you actually use that in a constructive way to kind of actually, get my partners actually to use the data and then kind of come on board with me? Because there are two schools of thoughts. One, you beat actually the crap out of actually the supplier service providers and then, get them to come to you, come on board with you actually onto your platform. Or the other way, which I have found mostly, interestingly, most of the, organizations overseas, they always work on your positives. And then, they always, try to kind of say, oh, you've done good, actually, can we do a similar kind of a thing here? I think the second approach has actually done wonders, in fact, for me, even in India for the last 10 odd years, I guess. So from the technology perspective, to me, technology is an enabler, whether it is a track and trace, or, even if you talk about actually the PLM side of things, product side of things, right? The product designing, the demand sensing, which we spoke extensively during our last actually inaugural session and so on. Because I was making a point saying that forecasting has gone through the shutters. There's nobody who's going to force it and forecast now. Everybody is trying to do demand sensing. So how good can you do the demand sensing, right? Similarly, whether it's in manufacturing or within your own, warehouses, whether, it is to your, brick and mortar stores or actually to the, online sales and so on, which part of it do you want to use it for your 80% of your normal life, which I call as NTP, normal temperature pressure, and which is outside NTP, how much of that technology and the system or the data that you want to use it to, manage the exception management. So that way, it's a very, very tricky situation, because many times what I've actually done, I've put some, I'm sorry to use the word, it's not in that literal sense, some not so intelligent people for my 80% of the business. And my so-called smart and intelligent people are managing the 20% of the business, because that's where you need to read the data rightly and to take action, proper actions actually. So that is how, a host of technologies are, that we've been using right now, including a lot of automation in the warehouse itself, right? In the warehousing and the transportation, a lot of, automation we are trying to do. Now, one of our colleagues actually talked about the food delivery, actually, the disruptions, whatever happened. To me, that's probably the ultimate. I mean, where we want to get to with all this technology or the, the support actually from the analytics or even from the control tower is what the automotive industry has been able to achieve. I mean, they stand for lean manufacturing, right? They stand for the ultimate agility, right? If we as a supply chain fraternity, if we can kind of, go towards that, even have the journey towards that, we would do a great deal of service, not only to the key stakeholders of the business, but also more to our consumers and partners actually. So I guess it's a mixed bag. technology is very much there. There are multiple, tools that we are using in the recent days and so on. And also it's evolving. Every day there is actually, there are at least a dozen messages on my LinkedIn saying that, okay, we are doing this, can we, work together? I mean, everyone wants to actually show you the heaven, right? So the technology front is, bubbling every hour of the day. Yeah. But how much do you want to take it, and then how much is applicable to you? You will have to decide on that, and then your own business actually requirements will define that.
Perfect, absolutely. And Sashi, just one more perspective I need from you. When we talk about analytics, we need data, right? When we talk about sense and respond using a control tower, you need data. Now, how good is your data is something that we keep listening from our clients, right? My data is not good. Nothing will happen with this data. So what is actually the balance that we need to achieve between perfect data and imperfect data? Yeah. Really start a control tower project or implementation. Where do you really draw that line?
So one thing is, and I'm not saying this because I'm in consulting. The one thing that I definitely tell my clients, the moment they say I don't have perfect data, I say you're no different from any of the clients in any of the industries. Perhaps there are one or two firms in the world which started as a data-led business model in the traditional conventional industries of retail and so on, right? And maybe one of them is Amazon. But to be honest, there is no perfect data anywhere. So perfect data is an illusion, mirage. We should not even hope to have it. Yes, there are pockets of data. And as I said, if you just bubble them up, if you boil them a little bit, if you dress them up, every single business user, who is good, who knows his turf, will be easily able to say, is this data making sense? If the data is making sense, then you build the next layer and so on and so forth, right? It's a journey that, to be honest, is a never-ending journey. But let's assume that it can be done very well to a large extent in a 12 to 18 month time frame. The one thing that perhaps so far we have not touched upon, and I also forgot about it, is that one of the emerging needs of a control tower is being able to integrate external data. Right, data outside of our organization. Anil made a beautiful example at the beginning, and I think a couple of other people also spoke about it. No one can forecast what happened today in Bangalore at early hours of morning, but there is a possibility, and it has been done, that if you have a control tower, or call it anything that you want, which can tell you, hey, now that this event has happened, and I can read this from Google News, I can tell you what you will be able to do today and what you will not be able to do. Where do you prioritize your deliveries? What should you not do, right? And this happened, I think, to the best of my understanding, this happened for a really, really, very strong way when the Lebanon blasts happened. This happened when the rains last year really, destroyed some of our western highways and so on. The control towers in very crude forms started doing this. So this need is really emerging, and this is also has a lot of dependence on external data. External data is even more unclean compared to internal data. So I think that is what I would say. I think you probably asked a second part of the question, right? Which is, maybe I don't want to overask this point. Tell me if you have a follow-up question on the data part. I think Kunal beautifully put it as fluid and block. Yes. Maybe, Kunal probably was about to add more like cloud services versus native platforms and so on. I think that is the other angle. We may not have time to talk about it, but how do you integrate platforms, native data, external data, and cloud services together? That's a beautiful question on the technology architecture of this control tower, probably for a separate discussion.
Absolutely. And I know that we are, unfortunately, we're running short on time because I guess as per the agenda, we're supposed to wrap up. But, I need to just, probably ask a couple more closing comments from Aniket and Shobit, because I believe you guys are living it day-to-day basis. But anything that we missed, anything that you want to, highlight in terms of what we discussed today?
In terms of skills and data, if I see it jointly, so, what I see, data ownership is something Dr. Ajay has mentioned. And this is one skill where we are looking forward to people in control tower, and supply chain as a whole, people who can actually own the data and make sure there is right data. Because until unless there is a right master data available, no technology can give you the right decisions or the right inputs. So that is where you need the right skill set of people at the time of recruitment. You can actually make the things right, because you can get a lot of consultancies, a lot of people telling there is so much of wrong things happening in data, but you need people who can actually correct the master data. And that is where, supply chain control tower people can actually add, value in the whole enterprise at the root level.
Sure, absolutely. Thanks, Aniket, for bringing that up. Shobit, anything from your side which you want to point out?
No, just I want to make a broader point about the technology. The technology that you said. I think my experience is that any technology investment, be it control tower or whatever we do, it needs to have tick mark on three things. One, it has to be scalable. So as the business grows, it should support us as we are growing. Second, it needs to be flexible. If I talk about our business, we are into now multiple lines of businesses. So how does it support that business flexibility? And last, and certainly not the least, probably most important, it has to be user friendly. We have, SCADA systems, different types of control towers, etc. But if users are not comfortable with it, it's not going to work. So if these three ticks are not there, the journey will always, suffer somewhere. So that's the closing comment I would like.
Fantastic. And this has been an extremely engaging discussion. I'm going to just use snippets from each of your words to just conclude. The first thing that comes to my mind is Anil sir saying this is like the Bhagwan of supply chain, like an ATC. So control tower is like your Bhagwan on a day-to-day basis. Shashi mentioned a couple of good points. One, you said that there's nothing like perfect data. You need to have some kind of a sniff test. You use the word sniff test to understand the data maturity in your organization, and then prove, of course, start small. There's no big bang, and then prove the ROI. Kunal, you mentioned the fluid versus block architecture principles that we need to apply, which is fantastic because you need to really understand whether your architecture is flexible and scalable. You also spoke about the maturity buckets for a control tower technology, and you need to understand what maturity you are at. You're struggling for visibility, but you're thriving for intelligence. That is a recipe for disaster. You mentioned that fantastic point. Shobit, you mentioned organizational capability required for these kind of roles, essentially new roles like control tower analysts, analytics teams, network analysts, and so on and so forth. Very aptly put. Vaibhav, you mentioned that it's also important to have the right partners from an outsourcing or service providers to really help you enable this to happen. Shashi, you also said that the role of a third-party provider is to show the picture, not to own the picture. So that's where the third-party service providers come in. Shobit, you also spoke about very specific industry nuances like food safety for industry, which becomes a very important parameter when you drive a control tower. Aniket, you spoke about the importance of master data management. Very, very critical to ensure that your master data management principles are in place so that you really get the right data for your control towers. So it was an absolutely engaging discussion. I really enjoyed talking to this audience. I would love to be part of future such forums. We should definitely stay connected. And we're really looking forward to more such forums from NASSCOM, wherein we basically contribute and learn from each other. And I hope the audience today has probably learned a little bit about control tower, which they would then think about in their organizations and try to kind of implement some of these principles. So thank you all. Very, very glad to be here, and thank you all of you for your time.
Yeah,
thanks Arvind.
Thanks,
NASSCOM. Thank you.
Beautiful moderation of this exercise. Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Charulza, over to you.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Arvind Maheshwaran, and I'm sure the audience has definitely learned a lot. It was a very, very insightful and a brilliant panel discussion. Also, a heartfelt thanks to the panelists for making available their valuable time and sharing their views on supply chain control tower. Listening to such strategic thoughts and the experience sharing is invaluable to the audience as it helps in refining their approach for future planning. I'm sure that going forward, there will be many opportunities for us to work together in different supply chain initiatives of COE. Moving on to our next session, I would like to invite Mr. Kapil Mahajan, Group CIO, Safe Express Private Limited, for the industry's special address. He will be bringing his perspective on digital transformation in logistics and how different enterprises can leverage digital infrastructure effectively and provide discussions on open innovation. Mr. Kapil Mahajan. Sir, you're on mute. Please unmute.
Sorry. Hi, hi, Charulata. Hey, good evening, everyone. Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you're audible. Please go ahead.
All right. Okay, so good evening, everyone. I think I'm a pretty interesting panel. I just joined a few minutes back, didn't get the opportunity to listen into the whole conversation, but pretty insightful. So I understand the theme of the event is around digital transformation with emerging technology, including IoT and AI and supply chain. So I thought that instead of talking about specific technology per se, we'll spend some time on answering a question that I'm very often asked nowadays, and which is, what constitutes a successful digital transformation in supply chain or in any industry in general. So I thought I'll use this as an opportunity to share my learnings and see if you have some takeaways that you could go back and implement in your respective organizations. So over the years, I have participated and advised on numerous digital transformations. And in doing so, have gained valuable insights on not just how difficult true digital transformation really is, but also on what it takes to succeed. Right? As I say to my fellow colleagues and a lot of leaders out there, that digital transformation is not really for the faint of heart. Right? And the unfortunate reality is that to date, many such efforts, like transformation programs in general, have failed. And often people ask me, what is the secret sauce, that ensures a successful transformation program? And it's purely my own experience and my own views. But my answer to them is that success requires bringing together and coordinating a far greater range of effort than most leaders appreciate or are willing to put in. Right. So I will try to break this down so you could take away some of the learnings and probably implement it in your respective organizations or refine your strategy in case it needs to be tailored further. So any successful transformation requires effort that is centered around basically 4 key and interrelated pillars of success. These 4 pillars, the way I look at it, define this is number 1 is technology. Number 2 is data. Number 3 is process. And a very fundamental one pillar is basically organizational change, right? So at the core of these 4 interrelated pillars, the engine that needs to drive the transformation is all centered around people, right? So whether it's formulating and communicating a compelling vision, to putting together an agile or a scalable plan, to say slogging through the details of a project or a program, it's all about people, and that too the right set of people, right? So I can't emphasize more that it has to be the right set of people that need to be brought together. And I think some of the members in the previous panel spoke about the importance of people. So I'll come to that shortly. So more than anything else, I believe a successful digital transformation requires talent. There's no second thought about it. And the fundamental step in this direction is all about putting the right team of technology, of data, of process and people who can work together in unison, right? And this requires a strong leader who can drive and orchestrate the desired change, right? This is surely, I believe, in my view, the single most important step that a company contemplating digital transformation can take. And I believe that if you get this right, you probably will get your transformation story right, right? Of course, I don't want to emphasize enough, but getting the best talent does not really guarantee success. But I do believe a lack of it almost guarantees failure, right? So it's really important to bring the right team together. So I'll talk about these 4 pillars and what, in my view, constitutes the right talent for each of the pillars. So we'll start with technology. So from the the Internet of Things to blockchain to data lakes to artificial intelligence, the raw potential of emerging technologies is really staggering today, right? Almost all of you would have delved deeper into some of these emerging tech in this forum organized by the NASSCOM COE for IoT and AI. And while many of these are becoming easier to use, understanding how any particular technology contributes to transformational opportunity and then adapting that technology to the specific needs of the business and integrating it with the existing system is extremely, extremely complex, right? And I think a lot of my fellow technology leaders here would be able to correlate with that. So this means that the talent, which are your technologists, must provide and demonstrate business value with every technology innovation. That's really the need of the hour, and also an expectation from business, right? As the role is moving from back office to the front and driving the realms of change within the organization. The innovation and the business value in everything that you do is becoming so fundamental, right? And your talent needs to understand that. Also, I believe the leaders of the technology domain must be great communicators today, and they must have the strategic sense to make right technology choices. So when you're looking at technology as a pillar, then the kind of talent that is needed needs to be in sync with some of these parameters that I just spoke about. Going to the second pillar, which is data. So a successful transformation today, and I think probably in the last decade, requires good quality of data. Some of the speakers spoke about it in the forum. So the quality of data to build a powerful analytics or new business models is really fundamental to whatever we do today. But unfortunately, in many companies today, most data is not up to the basic standards, right? Making it pretty much unusable. An interesting statistic here that I would like to share is that about 70% of the data in the world today is invisible, right? So though it might be stored in a system, it's black or not understood. Like your data like sight, sound, music, images, you don't know what's inside of it. And this data will now become visible, right? Because of how organizations are becoming cognitive by design, right? So transformation almost certainly involves understanding these new types of unstructured data or using massive quantities of data external to your company and then integrating everything together. I remember about a decade back when I was in the consulting space, we used to leverage huge chunks of data when we used to do competitor analysis for Pfizer and some of these pharmaceutical companies, right? And the kind of insights that used to come out of it really used to be, groundbreaking from an overall sales strategy perspective, right? So this data was realized by some of these companies probably long time back, but now it's getting democratized across the globe, including in India, right? So as with technology, you need talent with both great breadth and depth in data. I believe in more important is the ability to convince large number of people at the front lines of organizations to take new roles as custodians and data creators and helping them improve their processes to facilitate this so-called economy of data today. Right. So it's really fundamentally, you need to change the way the organization is structured and change the way how the organization can help in creating the valuable data that is usable for you to build your competitive edge. Right. So a lot of, probably I'm trying to summarize it in a few lines, but there could be a whole strategy around how that could be done. Then coming to the third pillar, which is the process. So as a lot of you would have heard that process improvement is the catalyst for digital transformation. Many organizations struggle with digital transformation because it requires assimilating digital technology into all areas of the enterprise and fundamentally changing how the organization operates, which is a mammoth task depending on how big the organization is. So when you're looking for building talent in this domain, I think we should look for folks with ability in aligning silos in the direction of the customer to improve existing processes and to design the new ones. And a strategic sense to know when incremental process improvement is sufficient and when radical process re-engineering is necessary. Again, easier said than done though, right? Coming to the last pillar, which is the organizational change capability. A lot of you would have heard the popular saying, culture eats strategy for breakfast, right? So in this pillar, we include leadership, teamwork, courage, emotional intelligence, and other elements of change management. My recommendation that I have learned over the years here is that seek individuals with excellent people skills and high EQ. Most of these leaders need to be adaptive and will have to use different leadership styles at different phases of transformation, ranging from a leadership style that is more pace setting to authoritative to democratic or to consultative at one phase of the project, right? So, so that's the organizational change component. Now that we have covered the 4 pillars of successful transformation, comprising of technology, data, process, and organizational change, it finally is about bringing everything in unison, right? Where you could look at technology as the engine of digital transformation, data being the fuel, process probably the navigation system, and the organization change capability as the landing gear. So to summarize, I think we need them all, and they must function seamlessly for that transformation to become a success and a propeller of growth for your organization. So with that, I thank NASSCOM for giving me the dais, and thank you all for your time today. Back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Kapil Mahajan, for an insightful address around the 4 pillars of digital transformation: technology, data, process, and organizational change. The 4 pillars, each pillar has its own challenges as you laid down and requires specific set of skills. Therefore, we couldn't agree more that bringing the right talent together is equally important for each of the 4 pillars to bring about a successful transformation. Thank you once again, Mr. Kapil.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And now is the time for the awards finale. For this initiative, our partners have played a crucial role. Their participation and support in nominating industry use cases has been crucial to understanding the challenges in real-time supply chains. Last but not the least, I welcome our partners to announce the winners for the first edition of the Enterprise Innovation Challenge, the Digital Supply Chain Imperative. Can we have the winner slides, please? To begin with, I invite Mr. Vibhor Bhargava, National Transport Manager, South Asia at AB InBev, to tell us about their challenge on reducing in-transit breakages and to announce the winner and share some key insights on the selection process. Mr. Vibhor, thank you, Mr. Vibhor Bhargava, over to you.
Very good evening to one and all. At the outset, I would like to thank the entire NASSCOM team, especially Sushant, for leading this entire piece for us. It was really exciting to say the least when we saw all the different thought process and the solutions that were presented during the recently concluded final round of evaluations. We saw all different types of products ranging in different stages of their life cycle. And we were really happy and excited to see how in-depth an understanding every team had brought in. And there was few select solutions which really stood out when they not only thought about what is going wrong currently in transit, rather than they also wanted to reflect on what has happened in the past, maybe reflect on the data that we had already gathered, and bring in some analytics on top of it, along with the data set that they were capturing with their IoT solutions. Right. So our problem statement was a very simple one where we wanted to understand how and why breakages are happening in transit. Ours is a packed product in a pressurized container, so to say, with 2.8 to 3 bars of pressure inside that bottle and the can. And these bottles or the cans tend to break or leak in transit due to various reasons, maybe a lot of reasons unknown to us. This is exactly what we wanted to understand, to take actions in order to reduce these breakages by 50% in transit. So some of the solutions that really stood out, the best one being from Orama, where Harshit and his brother had presented a solution which took care of understanding what goes on inside the bottle, how much of an impact is coming to the bottle, what is happening to the liquid inside the bottle, is the pressure really increasing that is causing the bottle to burst, or maybe it's something else, right? All of those parameters in tandem with the data that is already captured with AB and Bev, all of it they have pitched to put together and then bring out the analytics as to what is going wrong and what we can do to improve. So Rama took the podium for us, and really excited to work with Orama and figure out how we can bring down the breakages, right? Along with Orama, we have got two other really exciting solutions, which are really promising as well. When we saw Algo 8 and Gaia, both the teams had again used IoT-based sensors to analyze what are the kind of different factors impacting breakages, and drawing out analytics on top of it. So over to you, Charulata and Sushant.
Yeah, so now we have, thank you, Vibhor. Thank you. Now we have Orama Solutions, the winner of the use case by AB InBev, giving a quick overview of their solution. So I invite the Orama team.
Thank you, NASSCOM, and thank you, Vibhor. Thank you, AB InBev, for this wonderful opportunity given to us. And we are really delighted to be the one shortlisted to work on this project. I would quickly take you through the pitch that I had proposed. So good evening, one and all. The problem statement given to us, as discussed with the board, was analysis and reduction of in-transit damages of beer bottles and cans by 50%. So we proposed a three-phase approach, wherein in phase one, we were gathering data at the truck level, the box level, as well as the bottle level. And I'm going to explain this further on. And in phase two, what we do is we correlate all of the data captured from various sources, of course, the sensors and the data we have in SAP or ERP or different sources. And then we narrow it down to relevant features, whether it is the bump, which is causing the problem, or the vibration. And once we have some meaningful insight, we kind of try to develop an action plan that how we can rectify this. Is it the driver fault, or is it the bottle IPS? So it is just narrowing down to further actionable insight on what exactly is happening. So going at the bottle level, what we propose is to have a 3D printed replica of the exact size of the bottle that is currently being used, or a can. And inside this, we proposed to have an accelerometer to capture the bottle vibration in XYZ directions, as well as the bottle movement happening in tandem, while the bottle could be experiencing bumps, it could be experiencing turns or whatever. So we get to this granularity and we capture this data. Along with that, we also have a touch intensity sensor to understand that one bottle, when it is hitting the other bottle, how much force is being transmitted and what is causing the actual failure in packaging. So along with, of course, scuffing is another area where this sensor will help us. So what we propose is that this bottle will be placed inside a box. Now this box again is going to be a 3D printed box, and exact size. One bottle, the 3D printed bottle, along with the other glass bottles, and with that we simulate the exact conditions of what exactly is going to happen inside a truck. Now we are going to place 3 of these boxes across various levels in the truck, maybe one near the floor, one at the topmost layer, and one somewhere in the middle, that how the variations are happening across the height of the container or the truck. Along with that, we have a temperature and humidity sensor as well to ensure the perfect transit conditions, and a microphone to check for the rattling that is happening. There was a requirement to capture the rattling in the box also, so that we are going to isolate rattling noise only. So at this, with the box level, now we go to the truck level parameter, where we are going with very, very coarse readings of course, it is going to be an accelerometer, but there we capture data in form of what is the turn intensity. Is it a low intensity turn? It is a high intensity turn or a medium intensity turn? What is the speed at that particular time? What actual bumps, vibration, or anything that has been given to the bottle? Of course, apart from these, there are other factors. For example, the tire pressure, the truck dimension, because the truck dimension is going to change the void volume in the truck, and the bottle breakage post journey, and of course the journey time. So all of these put together, we would like to analyze and come up with more idea. We just wanted to show you a small video.
Hi, this is a video just to demonstrate a small example of what we are trying to do. So this bottle has 3 sensors, and any kind of movement in XYZ direction will be captured in the bottle. If we just tap it, you can see the variation on the graph in the monitor. If there's a tap again, there is a variation which can be seen to be registered in the graph.
So with this, we came up with a deployment plan. So we just tested a very basic hypothesis that whether this is going to work or not work quickly as a prototype. And now coming to the deployment, week 1, we would like to get to ground zero to understand what are the challenges, how do you actually make this work. We will select the right sensors from the correct manufacturers, and all of this, a bill of material to be prepared and ordering to be done. Week 2 and 3, we would do a 3D build design of the actual box, the can, the bottle, and with all the various components to be put in. Week 4, we have kept for testing, as well as any iterative changes that we anticipate might come up once we get to the testing phase. And finally, we would like in week 5, the deployment. So what is the USP of this system is it is extremely modular in design. It does not require any kind of modification in vehicles, which was one of the requirements, since vehicles are all outsourced, they are not company owned. All these sensors that we propose, whether it's a can or a bottle or a box, are going to be easily identifiable, so that they are not mistaken with the actual product being in transit. And also that the can and the bottle can be used on the filling line to check for bottling line parameters. What is the scuffing happening? Is there any impact there? That could be also a cause of concern for this. So as Orama, I would just like to take you briefly about what has been our journey. We incorporated last year in December, and in August we came up with our first smart weighing solution with barcode printer and reader. So in any kind of manufacturing setup, there is always incoming inventory and outgoing inventory, and we need to check usually with a weighing scale that what exactly is happening. Now, most often these all transactions, weighing transactions, are lost. So we decided to connect this to cloud, so that all of this data can be put together and later on used for any kind of insight. The other product what we make was, after that, a real-time tank level monitoring system. So in manufacturing industry, again, there are tanks, various silos, tanks used in grains for liquids, chemicals, diesel, whatever. And so there is a need to monitor the exact volume that the company is having. So for that, we decided to make this small sensor by which we can actually check in real time if there's any spillages. Alerts can be given, and it can be done. So all of that is again cloud based. And finally, we integrated our weighing scale with the volumetric weighing system. So this is again a computer vision based system where we are checking the parcel size, dimensions of the parcel, and integrated with this highly used in logistics industry again. So this is another solution that we have just built this month, and we are going to go forward with it. Coming to the team, I have 15 years of experience in manufacturing industry. I'm a chemical engineer and an MBA. My brother, my partner, technical partner, and my partner in crime, Shrinand, is a one-man army. He's having skills in artificial intelligence, machine learning. He's a Python and embedded programming expert. He's got skills in image processing, computer vision, as well as drives the entire product development and integration at Orama. Whereas I take care of the general sales strategy, general management, and product management at Orama. With that, I would like to close our presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, the team from Orama. That was a very interesting proposition you had there. Next, we have Mr. Abhishek Mithun, Deputy General Manager, Supply Chain Transformation at Jubilant Food Works, with a use case from the logistics domain, sharing his experience of participating in EIC and announcing the winner of this use case. Mr. Abhishek Mithun.
Yeah, hi, Charulata. Hi, everyone. Firstly, thank you for inviting me. I think we gave a challenge around road safety and driver safety, as well as product or food safety in products. Okay, so basically it's on transportation itself, and we received quite a good innovation challenge, as in a lot of innovative solutions from a lot of startups. And it was actually a grueling task for us to even judge who's the best. So I think a very close competition between a lot of them, and I think very well presented. And again, thanks NASSCOM team, especially Sushant and his teammates, for organizing this so well. Right. So right. So I would say the first the rank that we have kind of given is for Roadcast. So Roadcast, so basically everyone is very, very close, in fact, but Roadcast is better in some of the features that we were looking for. So that's where it gets the first rank, followed by we had, second and third as well, we put across. So Edge Tensor was actually good. Very, very close, right? Even your Driver Buddy AI, FleetX, SCDE, so very close competitions. But I guess, but again, Roadcast is the winner as of
now. Thank you, Abhishek. I would now like to invite the team from Roadcast for a quick presentation for our larger audience.
Sure. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for giving us this opportunity to participate in this event. And it's a pleasure to present the solution that we have. So I'll quickly go ahead and share my screen. Just let me know once my screen is visible.
Yes, it's visible. Yes, it's visible.
Perfect. So just to give you a quick introduction about the company. So we are a technology platform that basically specializes in any kind of fleet movement. We basically, if we sum it up in one line, we help companies track their vehicles, assets, and manpower on the go. And while tracking is a core aspect of our technology, the best part is that we focus heavily on safety of drivers, safety of vehicles. And hence, we've built certain tools that ensure that safety protocols are being followed. Essentially, what we want to do is we want to create a connected ecosystem for the vehicles as well as the manpower. The first use case that we were given was that how do we ensure that food is loaded properly and the unloading and loading process at the hubs is followed in a way that it does not damage any of the items. So for that, we have carefully created an entire workflow, which is already live. And that workflow basically incorporates image recognition. So firstly, what we will do is we will give an application to the guard at the entry, and the module intelligently recognizes the number plate. So there is an option to scan the number plate. Using image recognition, we identify whether this vehicle actually works for Jubilant also or not. If the vehicle works for Jubilant, automatically a parking lot is assigned within the hub and the warehouse. Once the vehicle enters the facility, the process of tracking the entire journey of the vehicle starts. So the vehicle is assigned a dock. At the dock, there is a feature for the supervisors to attach a photo of the vehicle before it is loaded, so that we can make sure that the process is proper. And once the vehicle's loading is done, then another picture is captured to ensure that the data sanctity is there. And in future, if there is any damage found in any consignment, it can be tracked back to the vehicle driver. So like this, the entire journey of the vehicle is tracked, like when it enters the hub, when the document is uploaded, what time the parking is assigned, what time it goes to the dock, what time the loading starts. So you have the loading start time, what time the loading stops. And then the images are also attached along with this activity. So this is the entire workflow that basically incorporates what I've just told you. Now, coming to driver and vehicle safety, we give connected solutions for vehicles. The first basic technology tool that we have is through IoT. It's a simple IoT device that you can see here on the left. This device can be connected to any bike, any vehicle, and basically these are the set of data parameters that we can capture in real time. These are very high-tech devices with accelerometers and gyro sensors. So parameters like hard acceleration, harsh braking. In case of bikes, we can even tell them, in case the vehicle tilts or falls, we can tell them that, okay, there was a sudden angle change and the vehicle has toppled. So all these alerts can be sent in real time. The second important aspect of driver safety is through IoT, that we can even give you video surveillance. So we have the capability to install video-based IoT devices on bikes as well as cars. If we talk about bikes, we have cameras like this that are very small and can be easily installed in bikes. And they basically give you a proper view of the road. In case there is any accident or there is any overspeed, firstly, the IoT device sends an alert to the admin that this rider is overspeeding. And secondly, the entire incident can be captured on a video. Similarly, for vehicles, for four-wheelers or three-wheelers, we have the entire solution of a dash cam. And this is an AI-enabled dash cam. So what it does is it not only gives you a wide angle view, which is approximately 140 degrees of the outside, it also gives you an internal view of the passengers in the vehicle and the driver. While it's giving the internal view, it also keeps tracking the face of the driver. So the device is capable of tracking features such as fatigue driving. In case the driver is distracted, he's looking left, right. So alerts are sent.
Rahul, we cannot hear you. Is there a problem? Rahul, we cannot hear you. Can you switch off your presentation and come online, please? Switch on your camera. Anyways, we congratulate Rahul on the win, and thank you, Rahul. We move on. Last but not the least, we have Mr. We move on, and last but not the least, we have Mr. TKJ Sridharan, Manufacturing Excellence Lead at Diageo, to announce the winner of the use case about tracking field assets. Mr. Sridharan.
Yeah, so good evening all. Thanks for this opportunity for interacting with a lot of startups. And it was really, in many of the places, it was really like a eye-opener for us to see that there are a lot of new technologies which has come up in the areas where we are really struggling it up and all that. So I'm really happy and honored to announce the winner for our problem what we will face in terms of asset traceability. So the winner is Mr. Hari from CISOC. So congratulations, Hari, and we are really happy to see your the proposal, and we would like to work with you further on those areas, Hari. So thanks a lot for your support.
Thank you, Mr. Sridharan, for your time and also your help during this event. We would now like to invite the winners, CISOC Semiconductor Technologies.
Hi, good evening, everyone. First of all, thanks for the Diageo team for selecting us as the winner. So we're very happy to work with you. So we'll be taking this opportunity to just showcase our proposal, like what we try to say. Let me share the screen. So our use case was to do the asset tracking for the immovable and movable assets in the manufacturing facility of Diageo. So there are fixed assets like which we need to trace, and should be made like avoid manual intervention in the tracking of the assets, and make it a completely automated end-to-end solution. So the solution what we have given was LoRaWAN-based smart tag, along with the hardware, the software to register, and the complete wireless infrastructure. So the solution is like it's a kind of a LoRaWAN-based smart tag which will be fixed with the assets, whether it is a movable asset or immovable assets, and that asset will be tracking the barcode of that particular asset, and it will be sending the data to the gateway. From the gateway, the data will be sent to the cloud, and it can be integrated with the existing SAP database. So basically, like, and along with the barcode data, we can send any kind of information like about the model number, about the year of thing, or about the other specifications of the machine also. So the outcome will be like the errors or the complications of doing manual way will be overcome, and the tracking can be done completely automated end to end. So just before going, like, what was the reason why we proposed LoRaWAN was like this is the table, like where these are the various ways of tracking system available in the market right now. There are certain things which are like used for short wave or short range, and others are long range. So our use case is not for the short range, because like every factory of Diageo or any big manufacturing facility will be like almost close to at least half a kilometer, 1 kilometer. So none of the facilities like RFID or Bluetooth Wi-Fi will not work. So but that's where like we went to long range thing. Again, in long range we have low power wireless technologies and cellular GPS satellite. Comparing to others also, like LoRa, which can be used for both indoor asset tracking as well as outdoor asset tracking, along with long range and low power and less thing. Though we say here the table mentions like expensive tags, that's where our USP comes into picture. Like our devices are very comparable with other tags like RFID tags, and our battery, our unique technology will be enabling the battery to work for up to 10 years. So this is the overall architecture. So basically all the assets to be tracked will be having the tag, the LoRaWAN tag, we say LoRa tag, that will be fixed. So those guys will be transferring the data to the gateways. So there can be one or more gateways within the premises, So for our use case, for every site, it is sufficient for having one gateway. That one gateway can cover up to like 5 to 6 kilometers, even indoor coverage also. So that's the uniqueness of this technology. From there, the data will be moved to AWS cloud. Right now, we are working with AWS cloud. Or if we don't want any kind of cloud infrastructure, we can take the data from the gateway and we can directly connect to the SAP system what DRGO is having. So that's why we try to make the infrastructure as simple as possible and more robust. So what is the USP? First thing is low form factor devices. It can be just retrofitted to any of the devices which is available already in the premises. And this is like future thing, like this LoRa device tags will not be acting as just a tag. It can be used as a smart sensors. Like we can connect a GPS sensor, we can connect any temperature sensor or any pressure sensor, and that can be transmitted to the gateway or through the cloud with our hardware. So that way, one tag which we purchase from us can be used for multiple purpose, just investing for the complementary investment for the sensors. That's the only thing. So again, the LoRa. So LoRa is a low power and technology that's like booming technology for all IoT applications, whether it is industry, smart city, smart home kind of things. And we are the end-to-end solution providers. So generally, like companies will be purchasing the product from third party and try to integrate. But in our case, we provide the hardware, from the chipset to till the software, the complete cloud infrastructure, everything will be there. And in fact, like O&M also will be taking care. So that's one uniqueness with this, where we can get a one-point solution. So something self-powered devices, actually it's a patented solution. Like our devices, like some of the devices, like what we are doing are self-powered thing. So deployment, already the tags are ready and we'll be able to deploy in just next 3 months, and testing will be done. So just to go through about our company, we are an R&D company. We are almost 120 employees. We are into semiconductors, chip design, embedded product developments, end-to-end cloud infrastructure developers. So these are some of the recognitions. So we were one of the winners of MIC challenge of NASCOM. So we are already part of a NASCOM. So we are happy to be second, winner of second challenge also. So these are some of the products which are working. We are into smart water meters, smart energy meters, and smart prepaid LPG meters also. And we are working for contactless watch for Titan. I just want to close this considering the time perspective. Thanks. Again, thanks for the team for providing this opportunity. We'll be like doing our best for this challenge. Thank you.
Thank you, Hari, and congratulations to the CSOC team.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, gentlemen, for your time and announcing the winners. This challenge will hopefully serve as a catalyst for other companies to raise similar challenges that can be resolved through co-creation and innovation. Now, I would like to invite Mr. Sushant Bindal, Head of Innovation Partnerships, NASCOM COE, Bangalore, for the concluding remarks. Mr. Sushant Bindal.
Thanks, Charu. Thank you for the wonderful moderation. I would like to start by thanking our partner enterprises, Diageo India, InBev India, and the Jubilant Foodworks. It is because of their contribution and constant support that we have been able to gain an understanding of real-time challenges in the supply chain and successfully conclude this first edition of the program. So when we started envisioning Enterprise Innovation Challenge a few months back, we wanted it as a platform to explore innovation trends and technologies that are driving markets into the future. And our goal with this platform is to be a key enabler of an ecosystem that can serve as a catalyst for the companies to raise issues that can be dealt with co-creation and open innovation. Over the past 2 months, this program has received a lot of positive responses from all the ecosystem stakeholders. And we touched upon some very practical challenges during the program, such as sourcing relevant use cases, faced by partners, organizations, across various parts of the supply chain, then curating and analyzing and understanding solutions that are currently available or which are under development right now. Then connecting with the diverse set of passionate and innovative companies in various stages of growth. And on top of it, receiving an amazing positive response, not just in terms of application, but also from various stakeholders. We also faced a fair share of dilemma during the long evaluation and shortlisting sessions. and we greatly appreciate the patience of the experts and jury. In our view, it is very rewarding to see, majority of the companies get encouraged by the leading enterprises like, our partners, and we look forward to seeing the results of these POCs. Last but not the least, I also wish to thank the Celerity team for helping us as a research partner, and to the MFG and Supply Chain Tribe team, both of whom have joined us as a media partners. We have appreciated the engagement that you all have contributed to this program. Once again, thank you to all the team members of NASSCOM COE and to the wonderful audience. Thank you. Batul, we can stop this live streaming. Batul, you can stop now.